And it's funny because I was talking to Lynn the other day, and it's, you get to a point in coaching where it's like you're ready to hand that off to somebody else, and that's the thing that I love about the game. But where we are collectively, being able to hand that off to him, I trust him implicitly. He's really good at all that stuff, and we continue to see things the same way. And he's super creative, watches a lot of basketball, and takes a lot of pride in it.
Watch her face when she says that. You get to a point in coaching where you're ready to hand that off to somebody else. That's not just casual conversation about delegating play-calling duties. That's exhaustion. That's someone who's been carrying weight they didn't sign up for. And when Stephanie White mentions talking to Lynn Dunn about passing things on, you have to wonder if she's talking about more than just offensive schemes.
In the damn kitchen. Now let me play this clip for you guys one more time for whoever didn't catch it.
Elena Deladon, or he was whomever, right? And just knowing tendencies and playing personnel, you could tell that he had a really high basketball IQ. And then when I brought him, with me at Vanderbilt, we would always talk X's and O's. I mean, we'd be watching games and texting back and forth, just different things that we saw. And our mindset is very similar in terms of what we look for out of our action. And it's funny because I was talking to Lynn the other day, and it's, you get to a point in coaching where it's like you're ready to hand that off to somebody else. And
there it is again. Same phrasing, same energy. You get to a point in coaching where you're ready to hand that off to somebody else. She's repeating herself, which means this thought has been living in her head. This isn't something she just came up with for the interview. This is something she's been processing, probably for weeks. And the timing matters here, because this comment comes right after one of the most scrutinized stretches of her coaching career. The Fever just beat Connecticut by 10 points. Caitlin Clark dropped 25. On paper, that's a success. But if you actually watch that game, you saw something else entirely. You saw 19 turnovers from Indiana. 19. Connecticut had 9. You saw the Fever give up 61% of their first half points in the paint. You saw them surrender over 20 offensive rebounds. These aren't the numbers of a well-coached team executing a coherent system. And then there's the Caitlin Clark situation. 25 points sounds impressive until you realize she didn't attempt a single free throw. Not one. Meanwhile, Alyssa Thomas got to the line 5 times. The officiating disparity has been a storyline all season, but it's reached a breaking point when your franchise player is getting hacked on every possession and the whistle stays silent.
You're the leading scorer on the team. So, and then there's reports.
Today?
Huh?
Today?
Yeah, maybe you scored something.
Oh, okay.
She put the dagger, but you had the.
But what sideline?
But the point I'm making is that there's reports that it's like the team, there's a division in the team. But clearly when you see on the court and
we're on the
look at the
scoreboard,
it's far from that. So
right.
I mean, if y'all want to address it, I mean clearly the stats and the play tells you all, but if you guys want to address it, please do.
This is where things get uncomfortable. A reporter asks directly about the Kelsey Mitchell trade rumors and the alleged tension between her and Stephanie White. And watch how White responds. She doesn't deny it. She doesn't laugh it off. She goes straight into defense mode, calling it speculation from fans on social media or bots. She draws a line between journalism through sources and what she considers noise. But here's what she's not addressing. The speculation didn't come from nowhere. People are watching these games and seeing a team that's being built around one specific player, and that player isn't Caitlin Clark, it's Kelsey Mitchell. The motion offense that White installed caters to Mitchell's strengths as an off-ball shooter. The spacing, the actions, the way possessions develop, all of it is designed to get Mitchell clean looks, while Clark operates within constraints that didn't exist under Christie's sides.
But what stuck out was the WNBA referees, Caitlin Clark whistle and Stephanie White motion offense. Now, a lot of people is getting in the comment section of the video that is out and complaining about the players not being able to catch passes. We're going to talk about it all tonight, man. Make sure y'all shout out y'all city, shout out y'all state. Let me know where you guys checking out the live from. We're about to get it in.
Look at the body language shift here. The moment the reporter pushes back and asks them to address it directly, White's entire demeanor changes. She's not having a conversation anymore. She's shutting down the line of questioning. And that tells you everything about how sensitive this topic has become internally. The motion offense was supposed to unlock the Fever's potential. That was the narrative when White came in. She was going to bring structure, discipline, a real system that would maximize their talent. But what we're seeing instead is a system that's putting handcuffs on the most dynamic offensive player in the league. Caitlin Clark could have had 40 points in that Connecticut game. She had 32 a few nights before, and could have had 40 then too. But the offense doesn't allow her to operate that way. Think about what that means. You have a player who can create offense at an elite level, who can score from anywhere on the floor, who can run pick and roll better than almost anyone in the league, and your offensive system is designed to limit her touches and force her into a facilitator role that prioritizes getting other players' shots. That's not bad coaching in a vacuum, but it's bad coaching when your other players can't consistently capitalize on those opportunities.
Everybody's missing that. She had like 32 the other night. She could have had 40 then. Stephanie White is putting a leash and handcuffs on the way Caitlin Clark plays the game. I don't know why, but I am 100% convinced this is simply because it's Kelsey Mitchell team. It's just Kelsey Mitchell team. That you can't tell me that this is not her team. Somebody said they have got to get turnovers under control. Yeah, they had 19 turnovers. This one,
19 turnovers. Let that sink in. In a game they won by 10, the Fever turned the ball over 19 times. And this isn't an isolated incident. The turnover problem has been persistent all season. It's a direct result of the motion offense requiring precise timing, sharp cuts, and perfect communication. When you don't have that, and this roster clearly doesn't, you get chaos. You get players running into each other. You get passes going to spots where no one's there. You get Caitlin Clark trying to execute reads that her teammates aren't making. And then there's the defensive rebounding, or rather the complete absence of it. Giving up over 20 offensive rebounds in a single game is inexcusable at any level of basketball, but especially in the WNBA where possessions are precious. That's not a talent issue. That's an effort issue, a focus issue, a coaching issue. When a team consistently fails to execute fundamental aspects of the game, you have to question whether the message is getting through from the coaching staff. The Caitlin Clark whistle situation adds another layer to this. She's getting physically battered every game. Opponents know the refs aren't protecting her, so they're taking advantage. They're bodying her on screens, grabbing her off ball, making contact on every drive, and she's getting nothing from the officials. 0 free throw attempts in a game where she scored 25 points and was the focal point of the opposing defense. That's not just bad luck. That's a pattern.
She stated, she talked to Lynn Dunn about it all the time. That's the beauty thing about basketball. You can just pass it over. And she's talking about Austin Kelly.
Go back to that opening comment about Austin Kelly drawing up the game-winning play. White talks about how she trusts him implicitly, how he's super creative, how they see the game the same way, and that's all well and good. But when your assistant is getting credit for the clutch execution while you're taking heat for the overall performance, that creates an awkward dynamic. There's a reason people are speculating about Stephanie White's future in Indiana. It's not just social media noise. It's based on what we're seeing on the court and what we're hearing in these press conferences. She sounds tired. She sounds defensive. She sounds like someone who's realizing that this job is harder than she expected, and the criticism is more intense than she's comfortable with.
If you guys heard her closely, I know I wasn't tripping, and I damn sure heard her say, pass things on. Now, many people has reacted to this. Those of you guys who have not seen this, I just want to know y'all thoughts about this down in the comments section, because this is an eerie thing to me. Is Stephanie White getting tired of all of the bad press? Because I damn sure believe it.
The Kelsey Mitchell situation is the elephant in the room. If you watch how this team operates, it's clear that Mitchell is being prioritized. She's getting the plays designed for her. She's getting the touches in her sweet spots. She's being put in position to succeed. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Mitchell is a talented player who's been with the organization for years. But when that prioritization comes at the expense of maximizing Caitlin Clark's impact, you have to question the decision-making. Clark came into this league as the biggest draw in WNBA history. Her college career generated unprecedented attention. Her rookie season brought record ratings and sold-out arenas. She's the face of the franchise whether anyone wants to admit it or not. And yet the offensive system treats her like a supporting player who needs to fit into a predetermined structure rather than a generational talent who should have the system built around her strengths. This is where the trade speculation gets interesting. Not because Clark is going to demand a trade. She's not that type of player. But because you have to wonder how long she's willing to operate under these constraints. How many games of getting 25 when she could get 40? How many nights of 0 free throw attempts while getting mauled? How many turnovers caused by teammates not being on the same page? At some point, even the most patient player starts to question whether this is the right situation.
Now they're giving up 20-some offensive rebounds. My damn God, bro. Are you serious? Somebody said coming to you straight from CC's hometown in the building. Shout out to you. That Sally? Hey, Sally. Shout out to Sally in the building, man. Terrible. It was terrible. Very much terrible, Sally. Because people will look.
Here's what makes Stephanie White's position particularly precarious. She came in with a specific vision for how this team should play. Motion offense, disciplined defense, team basketball, all admirable goals. But the execution has been inconsistent at best and actively detrimental at worst. And when you're coaching the team with the league's biggest star, inconsistency doesn't get you much runway. The front office invested in White because they believed she could take this roster to the next level. They gave her the keys to the franchise. They backed her system. But if the system isn't working, if the turnovers keep piling up, if the defensive rebounding remains atrocious, if Caitlin Clark continues to be underutilized, then at some point the front office has to make a decision about whether to stick with the coach or pivot to someone who can better maximize their assets. And that's where White's comments about handing things off become so telling. She's not just talking about delegating responsibilities. She's processing the reality that this job might not be sustainable for her. The pressure is immense. The scrutiny is constant. The expectations are sky high. And when you're not meeting those expectations, when you're getting questioned about trade rumors and player tensions and offensive philosophy, that wears on you. Lynn Dunn, the person White mentions talking to, is a legendary figure in women's basketball. She's been a coach, a general manager, an executive. She's seen it all. And if White is having conversations with her about knowing when to pass things on, that suggests she's at least considering what comes next. Whether that's stepping away from the Fever, taking a different role, or completely reassessing her approach to coaching at this level. The motion offense was supposed to be the answer. It worked at Vanderbilt. It worked in Connecticut during her first stint. But those were different rosters with different personnel. You can't just transplant a system and expect it to work regardless of who's running it. Basketball isn't that simple. And when you have a player like Caitlin Clark who thrives in pick and roll, who creates offense through her individual brilliance, forcing her into a motion system that limits her touches is coaching malpractice. Think about the greatest offensive players in basketball history. Did they succeed because they fit into rigid systems? Or did their teams build systems around their unique abilities? Michael Jordan didn't run motion offense. He ran triangle, which gave him freedom to operate. LeBron James has spent his entire career in systems designed to maximize his playmaking and scoring. Stephen Curry's Warriors run motion, but it's motion specifically designed around his shooting and movement. The system serves the player, not the other way around. Caitlin Clark deserves the same consideration. She's not a role player who needs to learn her place in the rotation. She's a franchise-altering talent who should have the offense tailored to her strengths. And if Stephanie White can't or won't make that adjustment, then maybe she's right about it being time to hand things off to someone else. The Kelsey-Mitchell dynamic complicates everything. Mitchell has been loyal to the organization through some rough years. She's earned the right to have plays run for her. But loyalty doesn't trump winning. And if the choice is between keeping Mitchell happy with a motion offense or unleashing Clark in a system that lets her cook, that's not actually a difficult decision. You build around your best player, always. The 19 turnovers against Connecticut weren't just a bad night. They're a symptom of a deeper problem. The players don't fully understand the system. They're not making the right reads. They're not communicating effectively, and that falls on coaching. You can have the most brilliant offensive scheme in the world, but if your players can't execute it, it's worthless. At some point, you have to simplify. You have to meet your roster where they are, not where you wish they were. And then there's the officiating issue, which White has been hesitant to address publicly. Caitlin Clark is getting disrespected by the refs on a nightly basis. She's taking contact that would send other players to the line, and she's getting nothing. 0 free throw attempts in a 25-point performance is absurd. It's indefensible. And as the head coach, White needs to be advocating for her player. She needs to be working the officials, building relationships, making it clear that the physical abuse won't be tolerated. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing a coach who's more focused on defending her system than protecting her star. We're seeing someone who's more concerned with shutting down media speculation than addressing the legitimate issues that are fueling that speculation. We're seeing exhaustion masked as delegation, frustration masked as philosophy. So when Stephanie White talks about being ready to hand things off, believe her. She's telling us exactly where her head is. She's tired of the pressure. She's tired of the criticism. She's tired of trying to make a system work with players who aren't built for it. And maybe, just maybe, she's realizing that this isn't the right fit for her or for the Fever. The question now is what happens next. Does the front office give her more time to figure it out? Do they make changes to the roster to better fit her system? Or do they decide that it's time to move in a different direction, to find a coach who can unlock Caitlin Clark's full potential and build a championship contender around her? Because here's the reality. The Fever have the most valuable asset in the WNBA. They have a player who can sell out arenas, drive ratings, and change the trajectory of the franchise. But they're not maximizing that asset. They're constraining it with a system that doesn't fit. They're allowing her to get physically abused without consequences. They're prioritizing other players' comfort over her dominance. And if that doesn't change, if Stephanie White can't adapt her approach, then those comments about handing things off won't be hypothetical. They'll be prophetic. She'll step away, whether by choice or by force, and someone else will get the opportunity to coach the most talented player in the league. The Fever won that Connecticut game. They got the W, but winning ugly while your star is underutilized and your system is producing 19 turnovers isn't sustainable. It's not a blueprint for playoff success. It's not what you signed up for when you brought in a new coach with a proven system. So pay attention to what Stephanie White is saying in these press conferences. Listen to the subtext, watch the body language. She's telling us she's ready to hand things off. The only question is whether she'll get to make that choice herself, or whether it'll be made for her.